And a very pleasant good day once again to each and every one of you. Welcome to the Government Information Service. We're here at the Information Command Center, and you can join us daily for updates on the national response to COVID-19, as well as all matters relating to such. We are on NTN, as well as the Government of St. Lucia Facebook page and on YouTube. Special thanks again to all of the stations who join us regularly for these daily updates. To begin with our update today, more good news for St. Lucia nationals who were stranded due to the closing of the borders. This weekend, the Department of Health and Wellness received 151 St. Lucians. 59 are cruise ship workers on the Disney Fantasy, 73 from the Royal Vision of the Seas, and 19 are the nationals repatriated from Canada and Barbados. The nationals were welcomed and placed into quarantine, where they will remain for a period of 14 days as per the country's established protocol. Quarantine remains at the government's expense, and quarantine is also necessary for persons who may appear well with no symptoms of ill health, but who may have been exposed to a communicable disease. It restricts the movement of healthy people who may develop a disease after possible exposure to an infectious agent. In this context, this agent can be COVID-19. Quarantine requires people to remain in a designated location for a specific period of time. And relatives of those persons who return to St. Lucia are asked to support their loved ones in quarantine by encouraging their adherence to the requirements of quarantine. On another note, if you are aware of anyone coming in by unofficial means, do alert the authorities, and if you are placed in quarantine, please remain there. These measures are to keep all of us safe. In other news, we are seeing the temporary suspension of select services at the Grosley Polyclinic. The Department of Health and Wellness informs the public that the Grosley Polyclinic will be undertaking electrical works in its urgent care unit from Monday, May 25th to the 31st. The facility will be providing limited services during this time. The following services will be suspended during this period: radiography services, laboratory services. Persons who wish to attend the Grosley Respiratory Clinic must access such services at either the Leclerc Wellness Center or the Victoria Hospital. In addition, kindly note that all emergency cases should proceed directly to the OKEU Hospital for medical care during this period. And whilst on that note, all of us here would like to wish our fellow media practitioner, Earl Buski, speedy recovery, who is now under care at the OKEU following an accident over the weekend. In other news, the St. Joseph Convent recently made a donation of comfort baskets to the Royal St. Lucia Police Force in the fight against COVID-19. We're taking this report from the Bureau of Health Education.
Good morning, my name is Leah Daniel and I am the president of the SJC Pear Helpers Club. We are a service-oriented club and our main goal is to give back to the community and to our peers and provide aid to persons in need. Today we are showing appreciation for the police department who are working tirelessly to ensure that our country goes smoothly with its recovery. We appreciate their sacrifice and we know all that they do for us, and so we would like to present these tokens of our appreciation to say thank you for all that you do.
On behalf of St. Joseph's Convent's Pear Helpers, we're more than happy to hand over to you all a small but worthy contribution for the efforts and sacrifices that you all continuously give to protect and serve our nation. We thank you.
On behalf of the Commissioner of Police and the Royal St. Lucia Police Force, I would like to express our gratitude to St. Joseph's Convent for your generous donation. Thank you.
And a very special thanks goes out to the Bureau of Health Education for that report. And we also say kudos to the students of the St. Joseph Convent for that timely and kind gesture. In other news, the government of St. Lucia continues to provide relief for citizens who have been adversely affected due to the COVID-19 pandemic. An income support program for non-NIC contributors has been implemented and will be managed by the Ministry of Finance and Tourism together. As announced in the Social Stabilization Plan, provisions have been made to support those who have lost their means of earning a living because of the COVID-19 crisis and are not registered contributors to the National Insurance Fund. Let's take a look at this video explaining the income support system.
The Income Support Program is designed to assist self-employed people who have lost their means of earning due to the COVID-19 pandemic. To apply, log on to www.govt.lc from your cell phone or any smart device. All fields with asterisks must be filled out. Step 1. Click the classification or sector that you work within. If your field does not appear, enter Other. For example, if you are a taxi driver, you may enter Auxiliary Services in Tourism, or you may enter Other in the subcategory if your profession is not listed. Step 2. Enter your full name and address. Step 3. Enter your phone number including the area code 758. Feel free to add your email address as a contact. Step 4. Enter your NIC number. Additionally, your passport number, driver's license, or voter registration number can be included. Step 5. Enter date of birth, place of birth, gender, and nationality. Step 6. Enter mother's name. Payments under the Social Stabilization Assistance Program are on condition that each recipient registers with the National Insurance Corporation and commences contribution as a self-employed person pursuant to the National Insurance Corporation Act and Regulations CAP 6.01 within 3 months after the resumption of the recipient's trade or business. Step 7. The payment options are deposit to your bank, credit union, or to collect a check. Please note that direct deposits are the fastest options. Step 8. Enter your bank or credit union name, branch where your account was opened, your account number, and just to ensure there are no errors, please enter the account information in this slot again. Please note that a routing number is required for RBC and RBTT accounts only. Also select account type. We are almost finished. Just a few more steps to complete. For self-employed persons, please state the nature of your business, number of employees, commencement date, and let us know how the COVID-19 pandemic has affected your business. Now attach proof of business activity. This may be an invoice, lease agreement, business registration, contract, or permit. You may also attach a form of identification. Lastly, read the terms and conditions. Once you have accepted them, use this digital pen, sign the form, and submit. There, all done. Now we are going to do our part to assist you with the payment of EC $500 each month for the next 3 months. The Income Support Program. Simple strides towards recovery.
And of course, for more information on that program, you could visit the Government of St. Lucia's Facebook page, as well as the website. And the Ministry of Tourism and the Government of St. Lucia will be working assiduously to ensure that this support reaches all who have been affected. We take our first break, and when we come back, we introduce you to our first in-studio guest here today at the Information Command Center. Stay tuned.
Cette lisi ka registre ve min corona ek I ka fe mouvment ek an chay vites tan chaque kanef ka kouye pour viligence publique la fe wolo parler en place publique kon bolame base ti boutique changer distance sociale 6 pieds Hod yon a lot, I ka travay tan, si ou santi ko pa cordial, quarantine ko, pas en contact et puis l'autre, en cas où te toi pe exposé. Si on est couillé, free one ou ben n'importe clinique yo pou. Les pays a dimi à clé, ça veut dire les supermarkets, pharmacies et puis ATM, yo accessible avant cette souhait. Pays à clé en plein, ça veut dire tout bagay fermé à 24 heures. Servi protocole comme sorti par bureau indication santé. Nous tout ensemble, ça sauver vers mine corona. Si nous tous servi Jidla à toutes les.
Together let us win this war. Say to shall be a soldier. Together we can beat this corona.
And welcome back. Before we introduce our guest, just let me update our listeners and our viewers. The latest update from the Division of Human Services as of Friday, May 22nd, concerning the baby that was discovered on Friday, May 15th at Mondidor. According to the press release, and I read, the baby boy who was found on Friday, May 15, 2020 at Mondidor was taken to the OKEU hospital on that same day. He has been attended to, and all medical assessments have been completed. The baby is healthy and thriving. He is feeding well and is behaving in a manner in keeping with his age. His date of birth has been determined to be May 15, 2020. Baby has been discharged into the care of the Division of Human Services with all the requisite court documentation in place. He has been placed in care with a family who will provide him with the love, care, and attention necessary. A young lady whose picture has been circulated on social media as the mother of the baby has come forward to the division and to the police. Interviews and assessments have been conducted with her to determine whether she is the mother. Preliminary investigations indicate that she may not be the mother. However, more conclusive analysis is being done. The young lady, however, is being provided with psychosocial treatment as the posting of a picture and the negative comments which have been made are causing some anxiety and potential trauma, which if not addressed can lead to further psychological deterioration. The division would like to urge the public to desist from circulating inaccurate information, as these actions contribute to the negative impact of a person's mental health. The division would like to take this opportunity to thank all those who have come forward in providing supplies to the baby. This outpouring of love, support, and concern, together with the care which he is receiving, will help him to grow and thrive in a healthy manner. To those who have made inquiries about adoption and foster care, we will be contacting you soon with additional information and to start the process of becoming a qualified foster care or adoptive parent. So that notice coming here from the Division of Human Services. And on that note, I introduce my guest here today. She is Mrs. Leah Goring, a family case worker with the Division of Human Services. Good afternoon to you.
Good afternoon to you.
How are you doing?
I'm fine, thank you.
Well, you see your colors blending in with our Information Command Center background today. Before we begin to discuss foster care and adoption, which is what we're really going to be talking about today, just tell us a little about, as a family case worker, what are your day-to-day
operations?
dealings?
Okay. So at Human Services, I'm a family case worker in the foster care and adoption department or unit. On a daily basis, what my work entails is to follow up on these children who have been placed in care, find out how they're developing in school, are there any health needs that needs to be addressed, etc. Are the foster parents functioning with these placements? That was prior to COVID-19. Due to the virus and its impact on our island, you can imagine that the way we address and follow up has somewhat changed, and we continue to modify how we approach every situation.
What are some of that modification? What has it entailed? A modification of how you approach visiting families and what have you?
Exactly. The visitation is one of those modifications. Due to COVID-19, the department had suspended all home visits. Okay. Moving forward from the reopening of full operation for public agencies, we had a meeting with our director, and it was left to the discretion of family case workers moving forward. If you know your clients, you know how large the space is, whether you can have a conversation outside that is not too detailed, but just to check up on families. Also, we have been using WhatsApp, video call, to do virtual visits, to give us a tour of the premises, let us speak to the child, see the child, what's going on, and have a conversation with the child during that time as well.
Speak to the difference between foster care and adoption.
Foster care is the temporary placement of a child in someone's care. Okay, that is in the event where the child is deemed to be in need of care and protection from a previous situation, which would normally be with their family of origin. Foster care places them in different foster care situations, because they're under foster care. You have kinship care, you have respite care, and you also now have the placement with somebody who's not related by blood, which is officially known as foster care. Adoption is totally different. Adoption is the complete severing of the biological parents' rights to that child, and adoption is irrevocable. Once you go through an adoption for a child, that child now becomes yours. You are the parent, mother or father, mother and father of that child.
What are we seeing statistically over the years? Are we seeing an increase in children being placed in foster care and being given up for adoption? What is the situation statistically?
Statistically speaking, throughout the years, from as far back as 1992, 97, thereabout, when the need for care and protection of children really started having an effect or impact on our society, these numbers have definitely grown. We're in 2020, so I would say about 4 years ago there was a study done, and the results of it was presented before our ministry and policymakers to indicate the growth of foster care over the years and the need of these children in care. And when I say need, I speak to the finances that is needed to provide what is necessary for them. Because when you place a child in care, you have to continue in all aspects. Parents are expected to contribute to that child's care. It does not happen all the time. So some level of support needs to be provided to the foster carers, because you are asking them to take a child. Most times may not be a relative. So they need school, clothing, shelter, health, extracurricular activities in school, everything comes into play here. So managing and providing for them does require a level of finance.
What role does the state play in all of this?
The state provides an allowance to foster carers who have children in their care. That allowance is small. It covers some, but it does not cover the entire need of the child.
Take us through the process, because as in the recent case of the baby that was discovered, you've seen the news on social media, persons expressing interest in adopting that baby. What is the process in such a scenario in terms of persons expressing an interest and then coming forward?
Expressing an interest in terms of adoption?
Adoption.
Okay, so speaking towards that particular situation, the baby was found abandoned in Mondidor. The first response that the division will make is not for adoption. We don't know that as yet.
Okay.
Investigation is still ongoing, and we are trying to ascertain, locate who the mother is. We need to first find out what is her circumstance. You know, what happened to her that brought her to that decision, and what does she want to do going forward? Whether or not she has abandoned that child, it still legally remains that she is the biological parent of that child, and we are governed by laws where adoption is concerned, or placement for a child. So naturally, you read the update from our department. The child is in respite care. That is a type of foster care that happens to facilitate investigation or whatever else that needs to happen to ensure the next step in the process. The next step in the process could be reunification, going back to their mother. The next step could be foster care under a different name, or it could be pre-adoptive care. Going to the baby, we are not sure as yet. Investigations are still ongoing. Now, the process for becoming a foster carer, we are governed by the Child Care Protection and Adoption Act. What the division...
And that was recently updated, I think it was it?
It was recently passed in December
yes.
of 2018. And the procedures and protocols that would have normally obtained at the Division of Human Services were enshrined into this act. So if you want to become a foster carer, you have to go through a process of assessment. Now, this assessment covers everything about the individual, and it is very detailed and in-depth. We cover the history of that person through a various number of forms that you have to complete. So we're looking at what were your childhood experiences, what is your employment history, your health history, relationship history, how do you feel towards your parents in terms of your childhood experiences? Do you feel that they were there for you? How do you cope with them now as an adult? Your education background, psychological assessment, certificate of character. Have you been arrested? Have you had any issues or conflict with human services, family court, probations, and parole? So it really covers all aspects of the individual, which helps to give us an idea of who this person is requesting to become a foster carer, because the whole purpose of foster caring is to provide a safe environment for a child, and we need to be able to determine that as best as possible, that when we go before the magistrate or present a report before the High Court, and we can say that due diligence has been executed here, and we can say, according to the investigations that we have carried out, that this person qualifies as a safe person, a safe placement, a safe environment for the child. A psychological assessment is also part of, the assessment, and that's the last one. That is done by a clinical psychologist, and there is a fee attached to that, which of course would be paid by the persons requesting the assessment for foster care or adoption. After we've gone through that information and it is determined that you qualify to become a foster carer, we would do a home visit to assess now the physical space and place where the child will be.
You mentioned the fee for the psychological assessment. Are there any other fees attached to someone making an application for your department to adopt a child?
For adoption, for adoption, there are other fees, but that is outside of our department. The new act, which was passed in 2018, speaks to fees, but that has not yet been solidified. It has not. It's not yet conclusive what these fees will be. So
Sorry, go ahead.
So right now there are no fees for now.
Okay. So the individual seeking to adopt a child, does that person necessarily need to be represented by a lawyer? Or they could make that application on their own individually?
They need to solicit the services of an attorney to make an application for adoption. That is through the placement and following through with the process. The act which was passed in 2018 speaks to an adoption committee. However, that has not yet been established. So processing of adoptions has reverted to how they would done before, going through Attorney General's office. So yes, it would be wise for them to solicit the counsel of an attorney to process their adoption, and they will guide them accordingly with the new act and what is required.
Okay. On average, how long does the process take, and what would it depend on?
How long the process takes, in my experience, really depends on how quickly the prospective pre-adoptive parents complete the information that we have asked, and also a lot of it depends on their attorneys and them pressing the matter, requesting dates to be heard, and so on. I've seen adoptions go through in less than 6 months, and I've seen some delayed as many as 4 years. So I really cannot be specific, only give you examples of what I've seen.
Okay. Under the law, what rights do a father who's not married, to the mother of a child? Let's say, scenario, a mother decides she's giving up her child for adoption, and the father is not in agreement, but the mother insists that this is what she wants to do. She wants to give up that child for adoption. Under our laws, what are the rights of the father?
When you speak of adoption, both parents must give consent for adopting a child. When these matters come to us, where a young woman or whatever age comes and says they want to give up their child for adoption, we go through that process with them and explain to them that the father has to know, have you informed him? Does he know that you're taking this step? Because when it gets to the Attorney General's office, they will inquire. So we would like that information from clients, and we request it. Some clients will indicate that they don't know who the father is, or the father has migrated and they don't know where he has gone. But the father has a say for adoption. His consent is also requested.
Again, what is in place? Being a small society, that I'm pretty sure, well, we've all seen some of the movies where persons give up a child for adoption, and then a year or two later they change their mind, and then they want to visit, they want to go see that child and what have you. What do we have in place in our scenario in St. Lucia to ensure that that doesn't happen, or that the adoptive parents, they have some form of redress, if it comes to that?
If an adoption has gone through and signed in the high courts as being finalized, the biological parents are no longer recognized as parents legally. Their redress would be like any other parent, to report the matter to the police, And if it becomes an issue where they're still presenting, they take it from there, whether they have to go to court, place a bond, or what have you, to keep these people away from their child. That's the legal recourse that they have. However, if the adoption is not yet finalized and it's still in the process of the courts, and the biological mother or father comes and say that they have changed their mind, that decision will ultimately be given in the High Court if it's there already.
So the final decision will be that of the court?
Exactly.
Okay. In terms of advancing a case on behalf of the Department of Human Services, what are some of the key signs that you look for to ascertain? I know you went through some of the things in terms of, yes, this family or this individual suits, that particular child or can adopt that particular child. What are some of the key things that you really look at?
Emotional health, physical health. You want to ensure that the child's expected lifespan will not, before the child attains majority of age, will not outlast their pre-adoptive parents. You want to ensure that finances are there initially or from the get-go to be able to provide a safe, healthy, nourishing environment for that child. You want to ensure that there is the adult is functioning healthy in all aspects, which was why I listed earlier the various aspects that we take under consideration and investigation to compile that report to determine suitability.
At the heart of all of this, I would imagine, is the well-being of the child. That is what's important. That is what's important to your department, to the state. In terms of the child being in adoptive care, again, is there any scenario where support is given to that child in terms of counseling? Because it might very well be you find that, okay, the conditions is suitable for that child, but it might be quite traumatic for that child breaking away from the biological mother or father or the parents. What kind of support does that child receive in terms of counseling?
Exactly, and the law speaks to this as well. If the child is of an age where they understand, and I believe that the law mentions 12 years or older, once they have that presence of mind and they could understand what is going on, the child is also interviewed, interacted with to find out what is their opinion, what is their wishes moving forward. Usually in circumstances where the child is older and up for adoption, there would have been some years where the child, would have seen the situation, whether they were in placement before and leading up to adoption, that type of intervention is provided so that they understand. And it's not just a breakaway from their parents. There would have been lots of discussion, lots of conversation, lots of guidance in terms of the way forward and what is in the child's best interest. And again, I want to say it's not a breakaway because we do have discussions with the parents indicating that, look, your child is 12 years old. He's getting older. You're not making any progress in terms of being able to provide for him or being able to be in that position where you can provide that safe environment that's nurturing and that will help him to develop, him or her. We believe that you may have to consider adoption. There is a family who's willing to see or willing to have this child. What do you think about it? It's not the Division of Human Services that does not make that decision cut and dry. It always involves the different parties who are part of this process, and let's see what is in the best interest of the child moving forward.
Okay. We are here today discussing adoption as well as foster care. Again, we're also looking at what obtains from the Department of Human Services in our response to COVID-19. We are due for another break, but before that, we invite you to pay attention to this message from one of our little ones, a student from the Auger Combined School.
am a grade 3 student at Oja Combined School. The world is grappling with an invisible enemy. Trying to understand how to live with the threat posed by this virus has been challenging to conceptualize. It is truly heartbreaking as regular life seems to have ground to a halt. As the coronavirus pandemic has stretched around the world, it is difficult to put into words our numerous feelings. Moments of hope abate thoughts of uncertainty as we trust our leaders to guide us and make those stringent decisions to keep us all safe. And for this, we are truly grateful. Admittedly, these are extremely trying days. I miss my friends and teachers terribly, especially my daily chats with Mrs. Charlie, my grade teacher. I'm thankful for inspiring messages from both my teacher and principal that have become a source of motivation as we remember to make positive changes to our lives. As we reflect on what has become our new normal as children, we are reminded to slow down, play games, be healthy, read books, stay connected as best as we can. This being a reading month, I chose to dress up in my ballet uniform. I do miss my classes. And share with you one of my favorite poems. It's called Open a Book. The author is anonymous, unfortunately. Open a book and you will find people and places of every kind. Open a book and you can be anything you want to be. Open a book and you can share wondrous words you find in there. Open a book and I will too. You read to me and I'll read to you. I really hope you enjoyed the poem. It's my fave. As students, we are reminded to be positive and, most important, enjoy learning. I am truly thankful for our creative teachers who find innovative ways daily to keep us challenged and inspired. You are amazing. I miss you.
And in the latest news, the coronavirus or COVID-19 continues to be a health emergency across the world. Caribbean people are concerned.
Everybody know about COVID-19. COVID-19. Keep socially distance and your proper hygiene. Wash your hands then clean. And don't discriminate cause it might be. It very well could be. Somebody will look like you or look like me. Listening, listening. We're in this together. Yeah. We all got to work with each other. Yeah. Look out for our friends and our neighbor. And if you feel sick, don't be afraid to call the doctor.
Red Cross volunteers from across the Caribbean, working hard to fight discrimination. So if a person should feel ill, then they will contact the authorities without hesitation.
The most vulnerable are the elderly, but the truth is it can infect anybody. So what we need is solidarity. Everyone helping everyone like a family. So
this is a message to the nation. Make sure you seek out the right information from official sources like the Ministry of Health, Red Cross and the World Health Organization.
Everybody know about COVID-19. COVID-19. Keep socially distance and your proper hygiene. Wash your hands then clean. And don't discriminate cause it might be. It very well could be. Somebody will look like you or look like me. Listening, listening.
People around the world facing this pandemic. Coronavirus have the whole world a panic. Now is not the time to be fearful, but to be careful, supportive and empathetic.
This is the state of the society. Some people full of fear and anxiety. Yo, a lot of fake news in the community. But what we need now is more love and unity. So
this is a message to the nation. Make sure you seek out the right information from official sources like the Ministry of Health, Red Cross and the World Health Organization.
Everybody know about COVID-19. COVID-19. Keep socially distance and your proper hygiene. Wash your hands then clean. And don't discriminate cause it might be. It very well could be. Somebody will look like you or look like me. Listening, listening. We're in this together. We all got to work with each other. Look out for our friends and our neighbor. And if you feel sick, don't be afraid to call the doctor.
And welcome back. In studio here with me today in studio at the Information Command Center is Mrs. Leah Goring of the Division of Human Services. We were talking off camera during the break about the impact adoption will have on the mother. Yes, we know that the focus is on what's best for the child, but we must give consideration to the mother. Very often in our society, again, being of a small society, it is usually connected with stigma. Stigma is attached to any woman who seemingly just gives up her child. Just speak to that.
So I want to address some of the misconceptions that persons, from my experience, have observed have towards the mother who has placed her child up for adoption. When you have a mother who has just given birth in that type of situation, you have to consider postpartum and its effects on that woman when she is saying that she wants to give her baby up for adoption. It is not an easy decision to make. I have not seen a mother interviewed, a mother of a newborn or any baby who is not emotional, who is not teary-eyed because they have to make that decision. I believe that it is the bravest thing that they can do to make that decision because they understand their circumstances, they understand what they can do for the baby, they understand what is available to them, and they look into the future realizing that, you know, I cannot do it. So why should I allow this baby to go through some challenges or suffering when I have an opportunity to have this child placed in the care of a loving family who can probably give that child a better start at life. And that indicates a level of maturity. It does not speak to somebody who is a monster or who doesn't love their child. It is the bravest and strongest act that this woman can make for her child. You know, so I wanted to say that because it's important that we not belittle that type of decision a mother makes when she realizes, I cannot provide for that child, but there is an opportunity to give that child a better outlook on life than what I'm able to. It's important. Another thing that is important as well is confidentiality. A lot of the time in our society, we get into things that are not necessarily our concern or our business, and we want to find out, who is this person? She didn't have a baby before, now she has a baby. Who's the mother? That sort of thing. We can only offer to the best of what we do in our practice, depending on what the pre-adoptive person asks for, because they can ask for a closed or open adoption. A closed adoption means that you know, the biological mother will not know where the child is placed. Open means that they would be able to have access to that information. And most times, persons, especially for newborns, would ask that the biological mother not know their identity. And for natural reasons, they want to be able to have that type of opportunity to form an attachment and bonding with that baby and interact with that child and raise them as their own without outside, you know, opportunities that may cause conflict in that relationship.
At the community healthcare level, what sort of prenatal care is provided to expecting mothers in terms of giving them, again, going back to the whole psychosocial support that might be necessary going through?
From my working in the communities, I understand that the different healthcares have a day where they offer prenatal care information education for mothers.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm not aware that this has discontinued.
Okay.
It's ongoing.
Yeah, because as you mentioned, the whole adoption process and the stigma attached to mothers giving up their children, sometimes we don't look at other circumstances like their mental health, their emotional stability, and issues like postpartum that you mentioned. How prevalent would you say are those issues in our society?
Clarify for me,
in
please.
terms of parents going through mental stress and postpartum depression and such issues? Because most time we just look at an individual and say, okay, that person is not looking at the fact that there may be prevailing circumstances, like their mental wellness and such issues, that may affect the reason why they may act the way they act. Like, I mean, we've heard of cases over the years in St. Lucia of persons committing certain acts on newborn babies. And again, you know, you see all the posting, all the comments, all the negativity being thrown at the mother. But I'm saying very often there are pre-existing conditions as to why an individual will act that way.
Okay, I'm not too sure that I understand you, but I think, and let me just say, okay, when we approach a case, whether it's for foster care or adoption or, you know, a child who is in need of some care or placement, there is a holistic view here where the child is the center, and then there are the different environmental factors. And that would include the different persons and also what impacts them. And part of it is, again, you know, what are the circumstances? What brought you to this point? How can we assist? Is there help that you need? Maybe we can guide you. It's never a one-tunnel vision. It's always an approach that encompasses various facets of that are related to the child.
As a family case worker, with regards to the Child Protection Act of 2018, what are some of the aspects of that act that you're really happy with that was finally passed or came to fruition? Because I know there are certain things that a number of persons have really been looking out for coming out of that act.
Okay. One of the things I'm really happy about this act is the fact that it states, it just lays out the responsibility and the continued responsibility of parents, even if the children are in care. So that is an avenue now that the courts can hold the parents accountable for, whether it's for continued financial support, continued contact, because the role of foster care is not to pass the child on to adoption. Foster care is to provide that intervention that is needed for the family with the goal of reunifying that child with their family of origin. Okay, so it places that responsibility on the parent, that if you're not making contact and the social worker is seeing that you're not keeping up with making contact with your child, the law can take you to task and order you to make contact, order you to provide support. Again, you mentioned the mental aspect of it. Maybe we may have some questions as to what the capacity is for functioning as a parent of this adult. Do they have that capacity? The law gives the courts that opportunity now to order an assessment of the parent's psychological functioning. Before, it was not as in-depth and detailed. So, you know, with this new law, it opens up what the court can mandate the person's parents to do.
As a family case worker and as a parent yourself, what would be your message at this time for parents who are home with children? With the whole COVID-19, you now have the children at home 24/7, unable to go to school, the homeschooling situation, which in some cases I'm sure could be pretty intense and overwhelming for some parents. What is your advice to parents at this time and under those circumstances?
Wow. For parents at this time, I just want to say I know that it can be a struggle. It can be a struggle, especially when you have to be at work and you have to do homeschooling with your child, you may have difficulties. Again, everybody is trying to be, they're trying to have that safe environment at their home for their families and their loved ones, because when you listen to the information coming in on COVID-19, and you're told that the elderly are most at risk and so on, a lot of persons have elderly parents, and there are times where maybe that would be the go-to for their children to stay while they're at work, and now you're considering that. So what are your options? I just want to encourage them to continue pacing themselves. Continue to, take stock of how you're feeling, okay? Because it can be stressful for you and the child. If you get to that level, take some time out to just try to be still in that moment. Give yourself a break, give the child a break, and then go back to it. With regards to providing care, it may have to mean that you need to have a discussion with those elderly persons, or whoever it is, the family members that you may have for support. And if you don't have that level of support, maybe you need to speak with your employers and see what else they can offer, maybe a shift system or something like that, to make it safer for you and the child to function in this environment.
Mm-hmm. What has been some of your personal takeaways during this period?
Wow. I have gotten some well-needed rest, during this time. It has made me appreciate a lot of the things that I would have taken for granted. During this time, and you have the shutdown of school from the 13th of March, and all the things that I would have had in place to have my children involved in while they are out of school, that just disappeared. There's no more camps, there's no more vacation Bible school, no more swim camps, nothing like that. Mm-hmm. So I've had to become somewhat a magician in terms of how I manage things with the children.
Creative as well.
Exactly. But that's my story. It has been a time to reflect and a time of appreciation, not just for those who you see every day in terms of your family, but also your fellow men. I cannot be comfortable knowing, okay, I have something to eat, but maybe, somebody else does not. What can I do to help that person? Mm-hmm. You understand? It's not about me and survival, because if I survive alone, I might just die of no social interaction. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So there are some benefits to what we're experiencing right now. It's what we use out of that situation to try to make our society a little better for the children who will come after us.
Mm-hmm. Final thoughts from you before we wrap up on what we've been discussing, adoption, foster care and what have you, and the whole as a family caseworker?
Mm-hmm. I think it's important in this society, if you see something that is wrong, it's important to report it, don't hide it, get information. Reporting it does not mean that person may go to prison. It may mean that we can provide you with some guidance in terms of improvement, what you can do better, help navigate certain decisions with you, not for you.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Thank you very much for that, and thank you for being here with us today on the Information Command Center. We wish you and your family all the best, and we also want to take this time to wish all our families out there, all the children who are at home doing their homeschooling, and those getting ready for common entrance as well as CXC. We see you, we hear you. We know that some of you are a little anxious at this time, and we do understand. These are not normal times, and we don't think that we will ever go back to life as normal. But we here at the Information Command Center continue to stand with you, and we continue to bring you relevant and timely information with regards to our response to COVID-19. So thank you once again for joining us. Thank you once again for staying with us. Continue to be here with us throughout the week. Tomorrow we have a sitting of the House beginning at 9 a.m. So stay tuned to NTN. Join us live from 9 a.m. from the House of Assembly tomorrow. Have a good evening. Be blessed.